My intentions today are to go through and show you how you would go about creating a digital portfolio for your client connected using Wix as a HTML web editor. As you know, Wix is a free site that enables you to create any sort of website that you want, and it's what we call a WYSIWYG. So what you see is what you get. So if you take your first letter of what you see is what you get, it says WYSIWYG. And it means that you can drag things onto the screen, and what you see is what it should show up on a web page. Now, as you can see from my screen, of which I'm sharing with you now, that inside of Wix, if you've never used it before, you'll have the ability to create, update, edit any web pages that you've created. And through today's session, what I'm going to do is I'm going to assume that you've never created a Wix web page before. Now, I know that some of you may have already done this with other tutors, so I'm not going to assume that knowledge is there. I'm going to start from the ground level up. Now, if you've never created a Wix account, you can do that using your own college or school email. I would recommend that you do that, because that way, if there are any issues, you can always go and recall your passwords from your school or your college email. Once you've done that, you'll get displayed with a screen that looks something similar to what we've got here. Okay. And this is where it's our dashboard essentially. And this is where we're going to create our web pages. And I'm going to show you a really rapid way that you can create your digital portfolio using Wix. Now, up here, you'll see that there's an option where it says Site Actions. So if you want to work along with this with me, it might be wise that you sign up if you've not already signed up to Wix, or if you are signed up to Wix, to open up your Wix account and follow along, as this will help you get your sites to where you need them to be in response to your assignment brief. So in here, I'm going to click on the Create a New Site. Now, Wix will take you through a couple of questions of which what your website's going to be about. Now, we know that for our Unit 3 digital portfolio, we are creating a portfolio of evidence that shows our skills, our knowledge, our expertise within a number of different unit areas. Now, you guys and girls, you're going to be studying either 6, 8, or some of you 4 units. But for you guys that I'm talking to today, it's going to be the 6 units, as well as information about yourselves, hobbies, and any qualifications you've got. So what you might want to do is choose the option here for Portfolio and CV. Once you've chosen Portfolio and CV, it will offer you a selection of whether you want to use Wix ADI to create your website for you, or whether you want to have control and use the web editor or the Wix editor that's available, and you can choose from a template. I would suggest you take this choice here for choosing a template. The reason we're going to do that is Wix has quite a considerable library of templates that you can play around with. Some of them might be close to your original designs. Now, I want to take a pause point right here and talk about your designs. In the previous parts or tasks within your Unit 3 assignment, you were asked to produce and create a series of storyboards that reflect the layout, design, and the structure of your website proposal. So what you're looking at is the ability to try and find a template that's very similar to potentially your layout and your design. Now, it's not a problem if it looks nothing like what your original designs were, because we will be playing around with some of the styles that these templates provide to you to make it more custom to you. So as you can see here, there's a nice little one that's got a navigation bar at the top, and then there's a bit of text in the middle, and then like a background photo. And I'm just going to jump into that one. And when we hover over, you'll notice we get the option for editing or viewing the site itself or the template itself. What I would suggest you do is jump straight into the edit option. Once that's chosen, Wix will do its thing. It will start to create a template document for you inside of its own little editor window. What you will need to do once it loads up is start to think about how and what your storyboards are laid out like, all right? Because we're going to have to do a bit of unpicking here with these templates that we've got given. So here, as I said, you can have a navigation bar at the top. You'll have a little splash title there and some information underneath, possibly. Now, this looks nothing like any of my templates that I've storyboarded. The reason it looks nothing like it, because we didn't know that these were potentially templates that we could play around with, potentially. But it's not a problem. We're going to edit. And I'm going to show you, first of all, how you go about using Wix to enable you to play around with the text, images, etc. And then I'm going to look and go back onto the purpose of our storyboards. So when you're in Wix and using a template, in order to start editing and changing things, you just simply double click on things. So if I know that this one says, "Hi, I'm Robert Caro," we double click on it. Instantly that selects that box and it allows me to change it. So I could put in that my name is James. Okay. I might want to change the font. Now notice we've got this pop-out box over here that allows us to change what font type we're going to use. We can choose whatever font types are available inside of our Wix website. We could use something like Open Sans or even Arial if it's up the top, which I'm hoping it should be. So there we go, there's Arial. Now, it might not have automatically updated it because as soon as I click in here, it goes back to Ludo Clean. You need to do like you do in Word, select the word, choose the drop down, scroll to the font that you want, select it, and then it will adjust. The same as with Word. If you want to make it bold, click on the bold. If you want to make it italicized, click on italic. And if you want to make it underlined, you can do so. There are some really cool effects that you can play around with inside of Wix. So if you look at the moment, this is a very flat piece of text. If I wanted to make it that it has some sort of drop shadow, if I select it and choose the toggle here for effects, I can have some form of drop shadow that really pulls that text away from the background. And as you can see here, it now stands out. Now, what I want to do is put, again, another pause point right here. And I want to give you some friendly advice and guidance. When you are using a program like Wix, or even if you're using another program like Weebly or any form of website editor, what you need to do is keep in mind and keep to one side your storyboards for your digital portfolio. The reason I say that is because it can take you down a rabbit hole of confusion or distraction if you start playing around with the actual program itself, because it's got lots of wonderful features. If I start doing that and I start adding or playing around with the images and saying, "Oh, look, there's an image here of a man with a beard. I want to change that. Oh, what can we do? Change background strip. Oh, look, we've got a picture of a nice hut there. Yeah. Or let's add that. Oh, or a woman doing yoga. Oh, look, there's milk. Oh, look, that one's got a video. I can have a video background." What you're doing is you're wasting time. Time is something that you do not have an abundance of when it comes to your assignment work and your courseworks. You're going to need to make sure that you're using your time wisely and carefully. So what I would recommend you do is use your storyboards, the guidance that you gave yourself when you created it, of the color of the background, the color of the text font sizes, the color of the background of a button. Try to stick to those as you can possibly do so that then you know that what you're doing is fulfilling the needs of your assignment. Once you've got your assignment done or your web page done, there are some opportunities you may find where you can make some changes. So for example, if I did in my storyboard suggest that my color of my background is going to be red, yes, that's great. But do you know what? That red is very standouty. It's very angry as a color. And actually, it kind of, with my navigation bars up the top, I can't really quite see my navigation buttons. So I'm just going to have a little look at the other colours and find that, oh, look, this tan colour here is quite calming. It works quite well with my font. I'm going to choose to use that. And what you then do is you make a note for yourself to put into your evaluation about the changes you made to your design because of some of the issues you found whilst you were creating it. All right. That's the only sort of caveat that I would say in terms of playing around with different things inside of WIX. Try to focus your efforts on getting your structure, your style, as you suggested in your storyboards, onto your WIX website, first of all, and then any changes, you might make some, not many hopefully, you can always reflect on those in your evaluation later in your assignment. So I'm going to go back into the development of this little page here. And I'm just going to close these windows down. And I'm going to show you how you go about using WIX to incorporate things that are not necessarily included within your template. So if I click on these buttons over here, these will provide me with additional options and things that I can place onto this web page that we've got open at the moment. If I click on the Add button, obviously that's going to allow me to include a new feature, tool, button, text inside of this web page. And WIX will provide us a plethora or a lot of options that we can select from. Now, if I know that I wanted to have a little picture of me underneath my name over here, I can go about doing that by adding that page to that page an image. I can then go over here and I can choose from a few different areas to get my image. It could be that I'm uploading it from my computer, or it could be that I'm using some of the pre-provided images from WIX to import or put onto my webpage. Now, remember, when we did our first part of our planning for our digital portfolio, we need to make sure that we were identifying any pre-defined or pre-made assets in our assets table. So if we are including assets that are not necessarily inside of our assets table, you're going to need to make sure you're updating your assets table. So if I find a nice picture on the WIX website that's got a picture of, like it's got there, a lollipop or an ice cream, is that in my assets table? No, I need to go and add it and then update the details there. But obviously, if you have identified things inside of your assets table, for example, a photo of you, that might be stored inside of your computer. So you might need to go into your uploads. So if I click on my uploads and then click on the option over here, what we're going to find is we're going to get given a dialog window of either files we've already uploaded, or it gives us the ability to upload some new media. Now, I might say, okay, I'm going to go and upload new media, and I might drag it into this area, or click on the little button here from uploading from my computer. And that will open up your computer's file explorer. You can go along to your area where your files are. I'm going to find a picture of me. And then once I've found the picture of me, I'm going to click on OK and open. And then it should place, once it's uploaded, the file there for me. Once I'm happy with it, I can click on it once, so it's selected. I can see it's over here, and then click on Add to Page. Once I've done that, you can see here that my image is now uploaded onto my page, and I have the ability, like I do in Word, to make it bigger or smaller. I can drag it wherever I want it to be placed. And if I move it between the headings and the text here, it should push one down. So I can put it here. So there you go. You can see that it's going to push that over there. It should, famous last words, should push that one down. If it doesn't, it's not a problem, because as with us doing with the image here, we can just drag some text below quite simply like that. And then we're going to start to get some form of structure for our web page. Now, I might have these titles here, but I might want to put some text to introduce people to my digital portfolio. So in order for us to do that, what I simply do is click on the Add button, and then I go to Text. Now we do have a few choices here. We can have themed text. We can have titles, which are the headings that you have over the top of your content area, or you have a paragraph. And you can have different formats and structures of paragraphs here. Choose any one of them and then just click on it. And it will pop it into your web page for you. Now, as you can see here, as I drag it around, it tries to align it to other text, to other different parts within inside of the WIX page. You can make it larger and smaller by using the handles here. And if you wanted to change the style of it, again, as we did with the heading, you can double click on it and it'll open up our text settings so that we can customize it to what we want. Now, in keeping with the theme of white text, I need to just go down and I can find what sort of color spacing, color there is, what theme there is, any spacing. I can toggle things open. I can change it from being a paragraph 1 to paragraph 2. Okay, I'm going to change the color and we get our color palette here. There's my white. There's lots and lots of choices that we can play around with to customize it to what we need. Remember, as I said before, keep thinking back to your storyboards. Don't try and do different things because you'll waste time. So now I've got my text in there. I've got my headings in there. I've got a picture. That's pretty much 75% of the sorts of things you're going to need to be doing inside of WIX to create your digital portfolio. The last 25% that we're going to need to look at is the fact that we have a requirement to have a minimum of 8 pages within our digital portfolio. Well, we know that 6 of them are going to be links to and talking about the units that we're studying. And then we're going to have a few other pages that might be our home page. It could be a page about our qualifications. It could be a page about our hobbies and any employment that we might have had. So how do we add that to WIX? Now, if we look, we've selected this theme here, this template, and it's already got some headings in it. Now, if I double click on this or click on it once, you'll notice that it selects the navigation bar. If I double click on it, it pops out this pages element here. Now, if I look, there's only 1, 2, 3, 4 additional pages to our home page. But also, if I click on them, watch what happens to my page. All right. These are what is known as an anchored hyperlink. What it's doing is essentially we only have one web page with multiple different points in that web page that when we click on these buttons, it jumps to. Well, that doesn't fulfill the requirement of our assignment brief. We have to have 8 web pages. So this won't wash with the examiners. So what we would need to do is we'd need to remove these. So all we need to do is click on these 3 dots over here, and then we can delete. And then click on the next one, delete. And then the last 2 we can click on, delete. Click on delete. And then delete. Now you might think, okay, yeah, we've got rid of it. But what we're doing, because this is still the one web page, the home page with those different links, all those bits and pieces are still in there. So we need to do some sort of housekeeping to get rid of that. But we'll come back to that in a little bit. What we need to do is we need to have 8 pages or 8 links to 8 pages within our website. And in order to do that, we've got this button down here that adds a new page. Now, if I click add new page, notice we now go back to how we had with a second ago with extra pages in here. But when we do it for the first time, it'll ask us to change the name from new page to whatever we want. So we know that we're going to be doing Unit 1 because Unit 1 is our exam. We can click on Done. Now notice on the navigation bar over here, it adds Unit 1 for us. Notice all of the other stuff is gone. It's using the theme that was provided inside of the template that we're using. Now, I could spend a bit of time and do some bits and pieces in here. So I could change the background color, couldn't I? Because actually, we didn't want the blue, did we? So we could say, let's change it to that tan color that we said before. Yeah. Now, I need to get back into my navigation bar. So again, I'll just click on the navigation bar up here, double click, and we've got it over here. We could add another page and do it again. So the next page would be Unit 2. Press done and click on that. And it's followed through with the theme color that we're playing around with, which is great. If it didn't, we'd have to change it and go in and do it again. Or what we could do is we could click on the 3 little buttons here and we could duplicate the page. So we could take that and we could put it as Unit 3, which is fantastic. Now you can see we're building our navigation bar over here. Now, some of you in your designs might have suggested that instead of having the units listed 1, 2, 3, etc., 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 that you have a tab where you click on units and then it expands to another menu that shows the units underneath it like that. We can do that in WIX quite easily. What we can do is we can add a page, and I'm going to call this units. Notice it has units over here. And then I'm going to add another page, and I'm going to call this Unit 10 and click done. Now you're going, James, that's just listing them along the top again. But what we can do, if we click on the little 3 dots over here, you'll notice there's an option that says subpage. This will indent this page underneath the units page, like so. Now notice that Unit 10 page has disappeared from up here. That's because it's now a subpage of units. So if I was to see this in action, if I wanted to preview it, I could click over here and click on preview. And now notice when I hover over units, the Unit 10 page is displayed. So that will enable us now to have that drop down if we wanted to do the units in that way. In order to get back to the editor, click on back to editor up here. And then it's always good practice just to save as you go along. Okay, it'll allow you to create your own domain. We call it Site 1, or what I would suggest you do is put your student ID number in there for now, and then save and continue. And then it will tell you it's saved. And I can just click OK on it. So now you'll see that I'm in one of these pages. I can't remember which page it is I was on. So just to make sure I know which page I'm on, I'll just double click in here, and then I'll just search through which pages I want to be in. Now, earlier on in another session, someone was asking me about what sort of content I could put into my pages if I'm not too sure, or even if it's a unit I've not started just yet. Well, I've suggested that you could do the following. As you know, you are studying a level 2 program in creative media and IT. And you have what's known as a specification. Now, your specification can be found on Pearson's website, and it's open to everybody and all to go to, and I will provide the link in the description below. And if you click on the link, it will load up the following document. If I go up to the very top, it will show you the specification for your program of study. Now, this provides you with all of the information that's needed for your tutors to deliver the content that you need to have. It allows the tutors to see what assessment criteria need to be met, and it will also give the tutors information as to how to assess your work and make sure that you've met the requirements as outlined by Pearson's. So this is what I call or refer to as the Bible, because it's got all of the information we need. Now, we know, and you know, that if there's a unit that we've not quite studied yet, let's suggest Unit 13, which is the website development unit, there's information inside here, this document, that could be useful for me to place inside of my digital portfolio. So what I would suggest you do is open up this document and then use the keys of Control and F to find, and then you could type in Unit 13. Now, this will list all of the criteria or the results for Unit 13 that are found in this document. And if we keep pressing enter, eventually we should hit the unit specification. And there you go. So unit specification is key. This is the information that talks specifically and solely about that unit. And the nice bit of information that is in here that we can use inside of our digital portfolio is this unit introduction. Now, I would make a suggestion to you that you could use this content here as text inside of your digital portfolio. So what you could essentially do is select the first couple of paragraphs, right click and copy them, and then go back to your WIX portfolio, wherever it is found, and then go into the unit that you're targeting. And then we're going to add some new text, maybe a new paragraph. And then inside here, double click. And then just right click and paste as plain text the content that you've just copied. Now you can stretch it out using the handles, make it look a bit better. You can even change the formatting so that it's a bit more justified. So you literally select all the text by dragging, choosing the alignment tool, and then justifying. And then my suggestion to you would be to go through this and change the vocabulary to first person rather than third person. So I have, and I will be, and in this unit I will show. That's the sort of terms that you're going to need to be changing inside of this body of text. This will allow you to then add more detail. So you've now got your text here. I'm going to add another heading. I might put a huge title in, and I might drag it up here, and I might say, this is Unit 13, Website Development. Now notice it's obviously expanded, or not expanding, so I'm just going to drag it out a little bit so that it's all on one line. Okay, put the text underneath, and I might want to put an image in. I'm going to do the same process as I did before. Click on Add, click on Image. Let's just choose an image from the WIX website. We'll put on there a man chatting over coffee, add to page, drag it below the text, and there you go. It's starting to look like a web page and a website, isn't it? Now, as you know, throughout the process of doing your qualification, you might have examples of work that you've done, bits and pieces that you want to really show off. So you might have done some database work with your tutor, and you've got an example of one of the database files that you've done. What you can do is you can add that as an upload onto or download on your web page, so that anybody, like people at Connected, can click on and download the example of your work. You might have already said that inside your assets table. So in order for us to do that, we can go Add. And this time around, what I'm going to do is we can use a button. And let's just add a little button here that says the following. So let's just drag the button below our image. I'm going to double click on it to change the text. And then we're going to put in there, download my database. Then we've got a link. If we click on the link option, it will provide us a few options. We want to click to a document. We want to choose a file, and again, it will open up our little document window. And again, the same process as we did with uploading an image. Click on Upload Media. And because we're uploading a file, WIX will only allow us to do one of two things, all right? So if we're uploading a database file, you're going to need to make sure that it's in a zip file. So whenever you've done your database, create a zip file of that database and then select it from uploading from your computer. And then I've got an example of a zip file here. Where are we? My temporary files. There's a zip file there. Click on Open, and then it will start uploading. And let's suggest that this zip file contains my database. I'm going to select it, click Add to Page, click Done, and then that should now have, if I close that, the ability, if we were to preview this, the ability to download. If I click on it, it'll ask me if I want to download, there we go, my file. So that's how you would show examples of your work if they're not images for your people that are connected to download. Again, to jump back to the editor, just click on the option here, and then you can work on content for your next page. So that is a bit of a whirlwind stop tour of how you use WIX to create a digital portfolio for Unit 3. Does any of you have any questions